I'm going dumb. I'm trying to live it and stunt. Get anything that I want whenever I want. It's okay to be broke. It's not okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And we are here today to discuss the last two episodes of this season of Bel-Air. We really enjoyed 9 and 10, and we can't wait to get the discussion started. But before we do, please make sure you click that subscribe button, that notification bell, and go ahead and click that thumbs up to like the video. We really appreciate you guys' support, and we pray that you continue to support us. So doing all of those things helps us out.
Absolutely.
Yes, please do. Invite your friends and family to join in as well, because we have a lively discussion that we're about to kick off. So, like I said, last two episodes of Bel-Air for this season. First of all, we get started with Carlton in episode 9, and he is kind of dealing with Amira's situation, and her parents are not allowing Carlton to see her, and they kind of think it's better that way. And Carlton is not really accepting of that at first. So he's struggling, and of course his frustrations comes out in Will's direction. I was upset with Carlton about that. How did you guys?
I was too.
He blamed him. He called him a thug. He said he's gonna be a convict like his daddy. Then he turned around and snitched on him for being at the fire.
Didn't I say last episode I said that Carlton gonna snitch, that he gonna let it rip?
Yeah. Carlton got to get the hands for that.
Carlton's got to grow up. It's just as simple as that. Yeah, I understand your frustration, and I understand that you might have been a little upset, but everyone in your hemisphere is all about you. All they want to do is make certain that you are okay. And you couldn't see the forest for the trees because you didn't know how to love properly. That woman wasn't meant to be loved. She was meant to be a friend. She was meant to be somebody that you can kind of share your thoughts with as you all go through your program. But you fell madly in love with a young lady that wasn't ready to be loved. And I'm all but to say you weren't ready to be in love. So grow up, man.
Yeah, I do agree that the timing for their situation was terribly off.
Right. I was going to, she may not be ready. Neither one of them, because they're still in fragile states, are ready for love now. But once they are both healed and in a better state, it does not mean that they
Of course.
can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do like that we got some backstory on this Amira situation, because he found out that not only does she not have a dead sister, she doesn't have a sister at all.
Right.
And her mom was kind of explaining that she was in a bad accident and she ended up getting addicted to painkillers. And so that's how she ended up, being addicted to this day. And I'm like, I understand what happened, but it doesn't always justify her behavior.
No,
so,
but didn't
go ahead.
I was gonna say, but didn't somebody die in there and stuff? Is there like survivor remorse? Because sometimes people have that guilt from surviving. Because I think that's what she was saying too, that somebody passed, and I think she survived, and a lot of folks have a hard time with that too.
I don't know if it was her dad or cousin or somebody, but you're right. Someone died in the process.
Right.
And as I go back to everybody saying I was so soft on Amir, I'm thinking my whole process was there's always something behind people like that.
You're right. You were right to be compassionate.
Yeah,
there was nothing wrong with you being compassionate.
Well, thank you, Tiffany, for being so straightforward with me. I appreciate that. I mean,
you were right to be compassionate.
It's so rare
that she wasn't messy.
It's so rare that I can hear these words coming out of your mouth about what I think.
You were right to be compassionate, and we were right to call her messy. So I'm saying that she was still messy. She was still messy. But you're right that she did have a backstory.
I did agree that she was messy. But there's always a backstory to people, and sometimes we just have to open the other ear to make certain that we understand the whole story. But moving right along, thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad that Amira's gonna get the help she needs.
Yeah.
That part.
That part.
Exactly. We did see them send her off to the rehab facility. But a part of that was they had this little friend circle where they came together and they were kind of recognizing how Amira contributed to their own personal growth. So Lisa had a moment where she talked about how Amira helped her to face the woman in the mirror. Will said the same thing about being accountable and, not riding the fence. And Carlton talked about how she helped him with his sobriety. So, I mean, some positives came out of their relationships with her.
Yeah.
And for sure, because she, like Ron said last week, she was right to call Will out on his BS because he was straddling the fence and he needed to stand on business on some things. So she was right about that. So there were some good things in the midst of the mess.
And it was good to see that everybody understood what she brought to the table for each of them. It wasn't all about the fact that she was messy. She was messy for a reason. Now, whether or not her past had actually happened, maybe not. I don't know whether she would have been the same person or would have actually come out, would have been about it the way she was, the way she had, gone. But it does say to something about a person who wants to just analyze and say, hey, look, let's stop the BS and let's just talk truth and see what this is all about. And they all learned from it. And that was a good thing.
Yeah, it was. There was also a point in the episode where Carlton was, going back to his dealer. And I was like, oh, the dealer is, getting game ball for me because he denied Carlton. He's like, I'm not going to fuel this. I'm not going to be the one that ruins your sobriety.
Absolutely.
That was the homie. And that was the one he went to private school with. So I'm glad that he did,
he stepped up,
stand on business and was like, nah, I'm not going to be the one that does this.
Right.
Yeah, but we know he did get the drugs elsewhere, somehow, some way. And he was about to take them. So until he started having those hallucinations and whatnot. And so I was glad he also showed up to the circle for Amira or whatever, to talk about how he decided not to take the drugs. And that kind of gave Carlton a lot of credence with his family too, because Viv went back and had a conversation. She was like, I didn't realize until this little friendship circle that it's really hard to see these young people fighting to stay sober.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I think that's what stopped him too from doing the drugs, because his mom called them and gave him, that positive affirmation on that voicemail. And I think that helped him. And that's what, it takes a village. Like, we talked about this before. That's a disease. That's a lifelong battle. So you need, not just your sponsors, you need your family, your friends, you need that support group, pouring into you to keep you on that path, because that was, you can see that he was struggling.
Yes. I was glad to see that Fred came around too, because Lisa is another person that needed that support and that village around her. Because Fred owned up to his mistake, and he said that he sees Lisa's trauma now and she's feeling overwhelmed. So he asked for some resources for Angela too. And I was like, right on, Fred.
Thank you. And that's what I was talking about, Ron, because you were saying, you and I had that conversation last week, because you said that, Aunt Viv, you took umbrage with the fact that she went to him. I said, but she went to him on behalf of Lisa. I know she had issues with Angela in the past, and she had, she was connected to the first wife, but she had Lisa's best interest at heart, because when Lisa hugged her father, she mouthed thank you to Aunt Viv after that. So it was purely on the strength of Lisa.
No, and I understood last week. I just said it was a way that you go about it. And I think with what Fred saw was not just what Aunt Viv had said, but he saw he was able to open his eyes. He was able to see something he wasn't looking at on purpose, or whether it was just something he overlooked. But I think once he saw the whole picture, he then realized that what Viv was saying is the honest to God truth. And if I'm not mistaken, he had to go back and say to her, what he saw, what she saw, and he thanked her for it. So, I just think sometimes, with certain men, and maybe even I might say a lot of men, you just have to be careful on the approach. It's the landing that really, that matters most. How do you land that plane?
Yeah,
I agree. So yeah,
I agree with that too.
Yeah, Lisa will have a whole lot more support going forward, and I'm glad that I love that for her.
Yeah.
Now Will, let's talk about Will.
Oh God.
So he got outed by Carlton, obviously, like I said, and Vivian is going off. She's like, these are the decisions you're choosing to make after you come out here. You get this nice shot at having these opportunities that a lot of people don't have. And she was like, you know what, your mom is gonna kill me, but I'm not gonna be the one to tell her. You gonna tell her that you were in on this arson and you were a participant. And she also revealed that Jazz got arrested, which Will didn't know at that point. So I think that really shifted it for him and made it like, oh, wow, this is serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with, sometimes Will can get on my nerves. And this was at one point because he kept trying to excuse what he had done. And what Viv was simply saying is, we brought you out of that life. And here you are so readily able to, willing to go back to it without thought, without process. And I think that's what she was saying. Basically, you didn't process actually what you were about to do. You just went for it. And that is something that I think he discovered with Amira, what she brought out in him. You're a fence straddler, and sometimes you just jump so quickly over to one side, you don't process things.
Yeah, and that's youth. That's a maturity thing too. But one other thing that Aunt Viv also reminded him of is that he was like, your mother already thinks that I'm lenient with you.
Right.
And with this, that's why she said you need to be the one to tell her, because this was on you. And she ain't want to hear her sister's mouth. Like, she tells me I'm too lenient, and here you are getting into stuff. So like, no, you won't be the one to talk to your mom.
Right. But I was proud of Will for being accountable and trying to right his wrong, because he went over to the DA's office. He told him that Jazz was not the one that started the fire, and admits he was there, and was even willing to go as far as going on the record to make sure that Jazz's charges got dropped. But we know Uncle Phil came in and he told him that ultimately nobody was going to go to jail, but there would be consequences. And I was really happy that they acknowledged that Will has made some progress. He's not the same person he arrived as, and he's accomplished a lot of things since coming. So I'm glad that it worked out that way. But that there is a privilege if you ever seen it.
Yeah, because had he been in Philly, he would have been straight in the bean.
Oh, cooked.
He would have been in the bean.
Exactly.
Sure.
His next meal would have been
he and Jazz.
Exactly. So, privilege does have its place.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that what's his name? The contract,
Omar.
Omar. I'm glad to see, as I think I mentioned last week, that the best of worlds would be Omar just dropped the charges.
You said that.
And that came about, and I think that that's the best of all worlds, because everybody had a learning experience, and that was, I think that was the best part of what we saw, that there was a learning experience to be had by all, and everybody understood that, and they made the best choice possible under those circumstances.
And that was the point that I was trying to say about Uncle Phil, because I know you and I was going at it off camera about Uncle Phil's choice and stuff. And I was just saying that's what I was saying all along, that he could use his influence, because he was running to be a DA, and he's in Bel-Air. So that one contract, he could have used his community, and he's in a fraternity, all his contacts to do just what he did.
Yeah.
And this community, it's for politicians, it's all of them coming together to say for one common interest.
But it's one thing to be running for DA and being the DA. And sometimes when you are running for DA, you have to make certain that your record, your past, your experiences is squeaky clean, because your opponent can take any portion of that and flip it, not necessarily lying about it, but they can misrepresent that whole storyline and make you look bad. So I understand what I was saying to you, even offline. There's a existential point where we decide to move toward that line that you were talking about. And I guess he reached it, but he had to take time to think about what he was doing and what consequences may come his way if he does what he, what, as you say, the right thing. Sometimes the right thing and the moral thing, even though they sound like they should go together, sometimes they don't.
No, and it's it, but it's always a choice, as I was saying. And I think what helped him reach that is that while Will was wrong in being there and stuff, and the arson, the situation, how that got out of hand, I respect the fact that what Will said about, you told me, to pick a side, and the side that I was trying to pick was about community and about, helping our folks. So he was, as wrong as it was, he went about the wrong way. What Will was trying to do and standing for something regarding his community and helping his friend, those are admirable qualities, and I think that made Uncle Phil think too, because it's not, at the end of the day, it's not always about dollars and cents.
Exactly.
Uncle Phil already has dollars and cents. He's living in Bel-Air and stuff. So I think hearing that from Will, that touched him too. Like, because living like that, sometimes it can make you lose touch with the common people and stuff. And I think Will saying that to him, and then getting him to talk to that Yolanda, in the community, that helps him keep connected with his community, because you living in Bel-Air, you ain't that, like, you got, come on now, South Central,
and look
Bel-Air
out of it too. Like, the community gets to come together. He and Yolanda realized that they had a common fight, and so, like, why are we going against each other? And then on top of that, by the end of it, he announced Campbell Square, where they were going to be bringing in community investors. So all of those people that are of the same community investing back into the community. It's not some outsiders.
Thank you.
And on top of that, they had, like, I think he said that they were going to get condos and all kind of retail stuff going, and hotels, and they would have that's their family legacy, basically.
Exactly. And think about it. These are Black people. When they had that press conference, Omar, a Black developer, contractor and stuff, Uncle Phil, a powerful attorney, Yolanda Porter, a powerful, congresswoman and stuff, and then Jazz and them are all Black small business owners and stuff in the community. Like, that's how Black Wall Street, when we lost and Tulsa massacre, that's how you build Black wealth in our community. Absolutely. And that's what I was saying about Uncle Phil, and I appreciated them building that into this story.
Yeah, that was a beautiful thing to see, that it all worked out. Nobody had to go to jail behind the nonsense. Everybody kind of got what they wanted.
I just got one question. I just got one question. Did Jazz pay those back taxes yet?
Well, I'm sure they gonna.
I'm sure they gonna probably work with him. Who knows? They got installment plans. They could work with a brother.
Just asking. Just asking.
We'll figure it. They gonna figure it out one way or another.
They gonna figure it out. Shoot, Hilary and them might pay it, because you see, like, even though Hilary was going to get married, one of the things I said, as soon as she heard that Jazz was in the bank, she dropped everything to go
and ran. We gonna talk about Miss Hilary.
Yes, we will, because Tiara and I had a brief discussion about Miss Hilary a little earlier.
Yeah. We're gonna get to Miss Hilary. I did want to bring up, the investors that Will and Carlton had in place, because after that presentation, people were interested, but Carlton almost dropped the ball on that because of his little situation with Amira. But Will kind of picked things up and made an executive decision, and ended up getting blindsided by the fact that the investor he chose was actually their nemesis, Drew. So they're gonna be partners with Drew, unbeknownst to them. And of course, Drew is out there antagonizing them, giving them a hard time. Carlton had a big blow up. He was about to throw fists
again, because he already beat him up in the previous season.
Exactly. And so I was like, okay, this is about to be a hot mess. But it turns out that, Uncle Phil encouraged Carlton to hang in there, stick with it. And throughout that experience, they actually figured out a way to come back together. Like, okay, we have a common goal. Just like Uncle Phil and Yolanda had a common fight, they realized we are here for the same purpose. So instead of fighting amongst us, let's focus on the goal at hand and just work together.
And Drew was wrong. He was just wrong as 2 left feet, shoes rather. But just coming in and thinking that you can just whitewash or blackwash everything that they put together, that was wrong. You didn't want to sit down and have a meaningful discussion. You really were being, as you all say, messy. And so I'm glad to see that they got over it. But hey.
Yeah, I think a lot of positive things are on the horizon for all of the youngins. I think Carlton got his email from Princeton that they were commending him for his bounce back. That Blackccess is doing well. I seen Will kind of eyeing the basketball court like he might be interested in going back. So I hope that that's on the horizon for him. Mm-hmm. And then of course, Lisa got to meet the gentleman from the Paralympics thanks to Aunt Viv. And she asked for a sign, and here's Aunt Viv introducing her to, I think his name was Jamal Hill. Mm-hmm. And he talked about overcoming his struggles and how she could also do that despite the trials that she's going through. Absolutely. And so I think that was encouragement. So I was glad to see that, a lot of the young folks on the show kind of got their way this season. They got some positives and learning lessons. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the biggest learning lesson of them all. Now we can talk about Miss Hilary. She is getting ready to go and prepare for her wedding. It's in less than a week, as we know. And she's talking to the wedding planner. She's getting things together. Like you said, she dropped everything once she got that call about Jazz being in the Bing. And she goes and has this conversation, and they're talking about Yolanda and how Jazz kind of has this interest in Yolanda, but they can't really move on to the next person until they get each other out of their system. Then they decide they're gonna meet up. Let's meet up. We're gonna agree to one night together to get each other out of our system. I thought that was a terrible idea.
Dumb.
That was a horrible idea because although they kept it platonic and they tried to maintain some boundaries, that could have went horribly left.
That's how people get left at the altar, like
for real. Because Hilary was only this close to getting left at the altar.
Oh my gosh! I felt them. I was like,
you don't do that.
And he was just like, no, I'm a peace out. And when I was watching that, I was like, good for him.
Okay, so let me take a step back because this is where Tiara and I.
Yeah, we had some talks offline.
Yeah, we had a little talk. Okay, so you ladies. Okay, so the idea was to get together and get each other out of their systems. But you bring your $100,000 ring with you. And now, Tiara made an interesting point that she wanted him to see the ring so that it would help her or Jazz, help him move away, which
I think it's a reminder to say, like,
which it did not.
But it did not. And here's the point.
She's trying to maintain her convictions.
How did it end up off her finger?
Well, yeah. Thank you. No. Answer the question, Tiara. Tell her what you told me.
They were doing some activities. They was rolling up, smoking. They was doing some exercising and planking and eating ice cream, doing all kinds of stuff.
I don't know how the ring got off her finger.
I don't either.
I was just like,
maybe one of the activities, she took it off for one of the activities.
Such as what, Tiara? Such as what? What sort of activity? Bathing?
Bathing?
Taking a shower together? What
I don't know. They're washing her hands.
I mean, that's $100,000 ring. Ain't gonna slip off your finger.
I don't know that I would have taken my ring off.
I wouldn't have even. I would not have even
taken the ring.
I was gonna say, is it sized correctly?
That's what they say. Did it need to be
You don't wear $100,000 ring without it being sized correctly. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's $100,000.
Yeah. So that's why I was wondering.
I was just trying to pick a needle out of haystack.
I know you were trying to.
It fell off her hand or something because it was like in his shoe. It fell off
all places.
It was in his shoes. So I was just like, oh, this is not good.
Oh, I know what happened. She was taking Jazz's shoe off and his sock, and the shoe, and the ring fell off her finger as she was taking off Jazz's shoe. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I don't know how the ring got off, but I admit that Hilary was dead wrong. I mean, she admitted to Jazz that she's a runner and that she tries to run away because she's afraid of heartbreak. But, Jazz said that he has an ego too, and sometimes his pride gets in the way. And ultimately, like, their situation is like, they have to put a lot of effort into their love, where Hilary was like, it shouldn't be like this. It should be easy. It should be seamless. Love should not be hard.
This ring right here is almost,
I agree.
Look. This ring right here is almost 30 years old. Look at this. Look at that.
It don't come off that easy, huh?
Look at that. Okay. I just want to let you know.
I see it. And Hilary was wrong for even staying the night. Because what? Excuse me?
Yeah. Explain that to your fiance.
Mm-hmm. You know,
so that's why I felt LaMarcus when he was like, peace.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at him at all. Because I was like
that though, because before they even got to that point, when they were at the house and he noticed the ring was missing, she lied about it. And she was like, I'm just having it clean. And it was like, wait a minute.
That was bad.
So now you being deceptive on twice.
Well, sometimes, come on, y'all. That was not the right time to say, oh, I left it at Jazz's house.
It wasn't. But it was a lot. Everything about that was bad.
Everything about it. And the whole point, it all started with, let's have some closure. What the hell is closure?
I'm not mad at closure. I'm not mad at closure. Closure could be a conversation, though. Yeah. Not spend a night over his house.
Well, okay.
Exactly.
But exactly. You know what? Closure is when you close your heart. And I can tell you right now, even though I think she loves, here's the point. She loves Jazz, but she loves LaMarcus more. And that was the whole point.
Reasons. She does both of them.
Yep.
Yeah, it may be, but Shorty, go get your own Shorty, and y'all just do what you do, And Jazz, I'm a little upset with you because it was like, if the woman is getting married, if leave the woman alone.
No, it's like the Notebook. Look,
leave her alone.
Some people make he had to bring the ring to her. He had to bring the ring to her. I don't think he would have gone. He wouldn't have gone if he didn't have to bring that ring to her. Because he thought about selling that joint. If he sold that joint, he would have been able to pay for taxes and anything else. It crossed his mind. But when he got there, what did he say to her? He was like, once he saw her, he was resigned.
But that was the second problem. Give the ring to Will and get.
They were already gone though.
No. When you got there and Will met you, Will asked for the ring, and you said, "Oh, I got to give it to her myself." Wrong.
Well, he was still holding out hope. He was thinking that it was.
This is my point, ladies.
Give it up. He still had. Yeah,
give
he was
it
holding
up.
out hope. But it could have been. And here's the thing. So I was wrong. I said they weren't going to get married, and they did. But once I saw they got married, I was like, okay, maybe they're following the other storyline from the original Fresh Prince.
That's what.
Yeah, and once I saw that they still got married, I was like, I hope he doesn't die. And that's what happened because in the original Fresh Prince, I know Hilary's boyfriend Trevor, he passed away not from the heart issue. Right. But from another way, the bungee jumping thing or whatever, and the bungee jumping accident. But when I saw that they still got married, I was like, And I said, I think they're gonna follow this other storyline, and they did, unfortunately, because it looked like he passed.
I hope he's just unconscious or something, and that they can. But if they stick into the story from the original, like you said, then
I know we'll see,
and that's gonna look crazy too, because you just married him. Y'all ain't have no prenup. And
you know what this is about. They want her and Jazz to get together.
That's what I said. It's gonna get enough.
But as an influencer, as somebody that's public facing, like Hilary is, it's gonna look crazy on social media.
Oh, it is. Oh, but in LA, I think they didn't have a prenup, but LA is community property.
Yeah, but LaMarcus already had a heart condition. That was public news.
Yes.
So it might be justifiable that his heart condition.
Really, yeah, that's what I think.
Foul play here, okay?
The thing is, I think it was because I think they were rushing him. Even his father was rushing him so hard to try to get back to football, and he was trying to rush and get married. He probably needed more time to heal.
Yeah, and I was glad that he and Hilary were able to reconcile and everything. But Hilary tried to tell him the first time, and she ended up saying, she couldn't get the words out. But I think that was because of her conversation that she had with Aunt Viv. And, earlier on, it was blurted out that Phil had kissed somebody else. And so Hilary brings it back up to Viv, and she's like, what's up with that? And so, Viv says that marriage is tough and that, sometimes things happen and you have to overcome them in your marriage, which is 1,000% true. But she also said, sometimes she wishes she didn't know about the kiss. And I think it was like, dang, if I tell LaMarcus this, is it going to be a situation like my mom is dealing with where she wishes she didn't know? I think that's what her hesitation was.
I give the game ball in her perspective, because as she said, if you get married with the notion that you're going to go through this marriage forever and not have hills and valleys and mountains and streams of rushing water that you can barely cross, if you think that you're not going to go through all that, you are very much so naive. Marriage is for big boys and girls. Okay, when you get married, and let me get off my soapbox, but when you get married, understand this: it ain't for the weak, or the faint of heart.
Sure ain't.
Okay.
So I'm glad that it worked out, but it's unfortunate to see what she's going to have to deal with going into next season, because not even getting through your honeymoon is heartbreaking.
That was heartbreaking, period. I was just like, oh my gosh, for that to happen. That's
out of the country. I mean, it's like, what do I do?
And I felt sorriest for LaMarcus, because he fought so hard. He had to go through so much, and to not be able to enjoy his honeymoon because of that. I know they were following a storyline, but I was a little mad. I was a little angry at that.
Yeah, I was too, because I'm like, man, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what I knew that he was a good guy, but I think I really, really realized it the episode when he married her, especially when they had that conversation, leading up to it, when he was really heartbroken. He was like, it was no mistakes for him, because I'm all about you. Like, I felt Marcus. I felt him, and I was like, dang. I was like, she messed up on a really good dude. And I was just like, let's see if he shows up at the altar. And then the fact that he still came to the altar and stuff and was willing to do it, I was like, okay, he really loved her.
And he's a really good dude.
Yeah, he was a really good dude. Really good.
I mean,
dude.
to show up.
Jazz is a good dude too, but it's just, they're just different.
Way different if you ask me. But hey,
I know. Look at you. Looking down on Jazz.
I can't help but look down on Jazz.
You a mess.
You better stop.
I'm stop. Sorry. Excuse me.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Will and his mom too, because we know that Will's mom was in town for the wedding, and she brought a plus one. Gerald, Mr. Gerald came along, which kind of caught Will off guard. And so Will actually does pull Gerald aside and has this man-to-man conversation where he's talking about, treating his mom right. And he talks to his mom too. And she like, basically, mama got to have a life too.
Yeah, the baby boy moment. And you know what Gerald told her? That's his name, right? Gerald, the boyfriend? Is it Gerald? Yeah. He also told her, like, listen, he let the cat out the bag that mama been out there. Since Will was in Bel-Air, mama been dating.
Yeah.
Too. So Gerald was like, I had to get in where I fit in because mama was sought after.
Okay.
Right.
Again, it's the way you do things. Now, I know your mama's boy. Grow up, man. Do you honestly expect your mama to be out there in Philly all by her little lonesome self and just what? Dusting and cleaning the house and not having any kind of lifestyle? The man is a doctor. That doesn't mean much, but he's a doctor. He knows her. They've known each other for a while. And this is how you greet this man? Yeah, I can understand you pull him aside in a fashion to say, hey, I love my mother very much. She's the love of my life. I hope your intentions are good because I'm not going anywhere. Something to that effect. And he said something to that effect, but it was the lead up. You just dissed him altogether when she introduced you to him. You didn't even give the man a chance to speak before you had already written him off because he's dating your mother. Really?
Yeah, that's that young man age bravado.
Boys are tripping with their moms. I'll tell you. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. And the mom, Will's mom, basically let it be known, like, I'm not bringing temporary men around. I'm bringing him around because it's actually serious. Like, it's somebody I can see
right,
with.
Right.
It's a fling.
Right.
And she also mentioned how the conversation with Lou kind of made her change her approach. And she talked to Will and kind of credited him with how he brings people together and how she realized that she needed to also like move on with her life and stop hanging on to the past. And so I was like, Will, like you said, Ron, I think he does have to get over it. And he eventually will. But he was tripping a little bit up front. I was like, Will, you tripping.
I tell you, having a baby boy moment, and like I said, sometimes boys are like that with their moms, especially if they're raised in a single parent household and stuff like that. They're really protective of the men that come into
but that. I understand that, and they should be. But I guess I don't know where that line of protection begins. I know where it should end, but
where it should end. I agree with you.
But where does it begin? I mean, what? Just because your mother has a friend, you
yeah. Sometimes it's like that. It's like, what are your intentions? This, that, and the other, and then you're used to a certain type of attention, and that's one thing. Like Will and guys that have mothers that's dating and all that stuff. You gotta look at mom she not just mom. This is still a woman. Yeah. This is still an able-bodied woman. That's
right. Exactly.
Just like you do. That's
exactly.
Like the young man. Will, you out here entertaining Lisa,
exactly.
Jackie, and whoever. You don't think that your mom wants companionship? She's still a woman.
Hey, how about asking the mom what your intentions are with this guy? How about asking that first and let your mother say, I may not have any. I'm just enjoying myself.
I just want somebody to go to dinner with.
Exactly.
And dancing and stuff. I just want a little companionship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because like, suppose that mom just brought him along just so she could have company,
Exactly.
It could have been nothing. But yeah, I think Will jumped the gun there and he definitely mishandled that situation at first. Yeah. Now, another little couple I want to talk about is Miss Ashley and Eli, because I'm like, how did Eli even get invited to the wedding? Why is he at Martha's Vineyard? He ain't nobody but a little friend of Ashley. They must really got some extra money laying around to be inviting friends of your youngest daughter.
Listen, if they getting married on Martha's Vineyard, they do have the money.
But no, didn't Eli say he was there for another reason or something?
He has family there too.
Yeah, he had family.
He has family on the vineyard too.
Okay, because I'm like, how he get an invite to the?
Because I think his family has money too. That's why he's even in that circle.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's in that circle. So he said he's family on the vineyard too.
Yeah, he was there for another reason.
And plus, it was around the time. In August. August is the time of the year where a lot of Black folks go to Martha's Vineyard, including the Obamas. They got a house there too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, either way, young Eli came clean and told Ashley last episode that he was interested in her. And Ashley actually admitted this episode that she's returning the interest. She likes him back. But after dealing with Hilary's situation, she was like, I don't want it to be a secret to my parents. I want to come clean and tell the truth or whatnot. Because she doesn't want that hanging over her head. She was in a dilemma as whether I should tell them that we're still friends.
And she was like, nah.
Yeah. Mm-mm. And Eli admitted that he wants to kind of live his truth too. interested in girls and boys, and he's just kind of fluid with it. He's not just a gay man or whatever he wants to call himself or go by. And so they kiss, they sneak a drink at the wedding. And I'm like, these kids is off the chain.
I was like, look at them with the drink. I was like,
I'm gonna let y'all have this conversation all by yourself because I'm just,
why are you bowing out, Ron?
I'm bowing out.
Do you think Ashley's still on the right path though? Because she is trying to be forthcoming. It's one thing to know you feel a way about somebody and hide it.
Well, she did say they were going to hide it. She said they were going to keep that to themselves, that they're dating or they like each other.
No, at one point
they said they were going.
At one point they were going to hide it, but then after Hilary's whole ordeal, I think she realized that the truth is the best policy, and that she would be honest with her parents about them not being friends and actually being a little bit more than that. So that's going to shift the dynamic in how they treat Eli and where they allow him in their house.
At the end of the day,
she ain't going down no more.
So they said, so she getting ready to go to high school. I think they said, so she's 13, grade B, 14, whatever. She's still too young to date. I mean, you can like people, but again, we talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. She's still too young to date.
And Eli looked like he's 16. That's all I'm going to say.
That's because he's tall, I think. But he does look like he's older than her for sure.
Yeah, I just think that next season, Ashley is going to have some more restrictions imposed on how she deals with Eli, and she might not like it.
As she should.
Yeah, so that the Banks household is going to have their hands full, especially after the end where we see that Viv finds out that she's expecting again.
That's true to the real original Fresh Prince storyline too, because I remember they had little Nikki.
Yep.
And stuff. They had their little boy, so I was like, okay. Because once she started saying she was not feeling well on the ferry on the way over, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, Aunt Viv is probably pregnant. Because I was like, I mean, not that you can't get motion sickness and stuff on the ferry, but I was like, as soon as she said it, I was like, something wrong.
Right.
Aunt Viv is pregnant.
That little trip over to wherever
Mexico
last episode, they got a little bit too frisky and came back with something they ain't go with.
It was overdue. Remember, it was going months without it. And see what happens.
Yeah. Always say it's that buildup.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Frederick and this whole situation with Geoffrey and Penelope now, because we know Frederick got beat up by these two guys, and so Geoffrey is kind of upset that it seems like Frederick is throwing his life away. And Penelope kind of comes up with a suggestion that maybe we should move away, start fresh. And Geoffrey kind of dismisses her, like, oh, you and your fantasies. But, Geoffrey does kind of eventually see that this is a real threat. Because Penelope, which I'm giving Penelope the hands. I don't know about y'all, but these same two men that were following Frederick actually ended up following Geoffrey too, and she seemed to be in on it. She knew that the SUV was following them, and that the Roman deal had fallen through, and that the organization was not satisfied with Geoffrey's offer. And so they're still on the mindset of like, it's either we get Geoffrey or we get Frederick. One of y'all got to come, or somebody gonna die. Mm-hmm. And she seems to think that Geoffrey can handle it though. But I'm like, why wouldn't you clue him into the fact that these people are following us?
Exactly.
I
was done with her.
Well, luckily she had Geoffrey, because Geoffrey was wise enough and, in of himself, having that ability to know when you're being followed.
Yeah, I mean, Geoffrey is sharp, and he's not true to this. He's true to this, so he knows what's good when there's a threat.
But Penelope was dealing with emotions, and emotions can kill. And I don't know why some women come up with that sort of trend of thought, but she was one of them. And if Geoffrey was just a hair slight less than what he is, it could have gone sideways.
Yeah, it could have. And that's why I was disappointed in her for not being forthcoming with him, to the fact that there were, at least he could have been aware of it. He could have had some foresight and known how he was going to react, but to completely allow this situation to catch him off guard, it doesn't, the image of it doesn't portray well, because here we are rekindling something after all these years away, and you coming back on the scene looking like you're a traitor. Like, I don't know.
I think just fear, maybe mostly. What I was happy to see is that Geoffrey came to the conclusion, which I had mentioned in the previous episode. The worst thing you could do is send Penelope and your son back alone. You know, it never made sense to me to begin with, you walking away and leaving them out there by themselves. So I'm happy to see that they made a decision, and it probably is a hurtful one. But I say that to say for, you know, Will and company, but
the crew,
but he made a decision, and I think it was the right one.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say, I think when he looked around at that wedding and he saw all of them happy, he noticed that they had family.
Yeah.
And he wants family too, because everybody, you know, Hilary and them were happy, you know, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv were, you know, chilling. Everybody was, it was, you know, it was full of love and family and everything. And he looked around and was like, I don't have my family. I'm not with my family, and that's where I need to be.
Exactly.
I think that you're absolutely right about that. And although Geoffrey wants family, he's going to have a uphill battle trying to get his family back on the same page, because Frederick, when they had that conversation with him, outside of the threats that are on them right now, Frederick was just like, this is who I am. You know, maybe I inherited this stuff from you, basically. Like, you had this lifestyle and you were a part of all of these terrible things back in the day. Maybe it's in my blood. And so I'm like, even if everything was all good and they didn't have no threats, Frederick still has a lot of animosity towards Geoffrey. And it's going to be a fight for him to get Frederick back on his team.
I think Penelope, I first of all, I think Geoffrey rejoining his family is going to play a positive role for Frederick, because I think that was one of the missing parts. I also think Penelope may have more responsibility in handling Frederick, because he loves his mother. So I think if anybody's going to bring him around, he's salvageable. And I think if anyone will bring him around, it would be Penelope.
Let's hope so next season. But some of those decisions that are going on with Geoffrey and his family have affected Will now, because we seen him get snatched up and in the truck.
Wow.
He sure did. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, so next season is going to be interesting. I'm like, you know, Will is probably going to be held for some kind of ransom. I'm assuming, you know, if we can't get Geoffrey, if we can't get Frederick, then we're going to take the next best thing. Now it's going to leak over into the Banks family, and people know that they're well off. So it's going to be like, this is a shakedown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a really good final 2 episodes. I was really happy with, you know, how they tied up some of the loose ends and where they left us, except for the LaMarcus thing. I'm like, oh, I'm hoping he pulls through, but it ain't looking good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, because I think I can easily see him passing.
Just so open up the story with her and Hilary and Jazz.
And Jazz be the one whose shoulders that she cries on and stuff. And I can see that.
Yeah, me too. I don't want it to happen, but I can see it.
Yeah, so storyline.
Yeah, we briefly talked about some of the people who we get their hands these 2 episodes. So I was initially putting a mirror on there because I don't know, she might she's worked her way off.
Yeah.
Because she lied.
I didn't put a mirror on there. I'm laughing.
Come on.
You know, the consequences of her decisions have affected everybody. Lisa is living with this trauma now. You know, it did help them in some positive ways, but it also affected them in a lot of negative ways too. So,
but they found out about themselves.
They did.
And to me, that's more important than anything. When you can find out about who you are at whatever point, however long it takes, if you can find out about who you are, that's what matters most to me.
What was the segment we created last week. It wasn't who can get
the dumb dumb list. That's the one that Ron me.
I'm gonna give her an honorable mention on that. On the dumb list.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm glad to see she getting the help she needed though.
I am too. Maybe she can redeem herself next season.
Yeah. Carlton
got for me.
Yeah, he gets on the dumb list too.
Because I didn't like the way he came off at Will and snitched and all that other stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
dumb list. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the Hilary can get the hands.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. She can get it.
I think Drew can get the hands.
No, dumb list. Mm-hmm.
You don't think she deserved her hands for the way she did?
She was dumb for taking the ring over to Jazz's house. She was dumb for lying. Just dumb.
That's get the hands. It was a series of events.
Yeah.
There's a series of events. And dumb could be like one thing, or
a dozen
like
things. Okay, let's say this: hands and dumb list, because I can see it both.
Yeah, I'm putting Drew on the who can get the hands list.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was intentionally deceptive about who was going to be partnering with Blackccess.
Mm-hmm.
So
his dad I think
it was it's his dad who runs the company, but they just didn't know that was his dad in connection to what's his name.
The fact that he came around makes me say it's enough to not put him on the hands list.
He redeemed himself, but
like
he was definitely being an a-hole up front.
Well, that is
true.
That is true.
He was.
I'm giving him the hands for that.
Y'all rough. Okay.
No, he was tripping. He did deserve the hands at first.
Okay.
And giving Will the hands too for how he dealt with Gerald, because he didn't need to do all that. He did.
Yeah,
he can get the hands.
He was out of pocket for the way he dealt with Gerald.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, Game Ball. I mentioned the dealer who tried to sell, or who Carlton wanted to sell them.
Yeah.
Uncle
Phil for Bridget bringing the community together and having a conscience and his role in all of that. Uncle Phil.
Yeah, and I gave LaMarcus Game Ball too for how he dealt with Hilary, because he was not deserving of the kind of treatment that he was
standing on business and letting her know I'm willing to walk. I was like, I heard that. I was with LaMarcus.
And Viv for setting Hilary straight in terms of what she can expect, and telling her the truth about marriage and the truth about the kiss.
Uncle Phil did too, though. When she talked to him, he owned up to his role with the kiss and talked about marriage. He and from the male perspective and everything too. So I appreciate his honesty as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Viv also helped with the Lisa situation. She also helped with Carlton and his situation, and then she helped Will. With his Viv was on it.
She was on point.
So yeah, she gets the Game Ball too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was a very lively discussion. I'm glad we got to recap these last two. 100% looking forward to the next season and seeing what they got in store for us. So congrats on an amazing season. Definitely appreciate how they have been doing a wonderful job with the storytelling, with the acting, and just keeping everything interesting and kind of sticking to the original, like bringing in bits and pieces from the original, but doing it in a very fresh way that's not so predictable. So I do appreciate how they have dealt with this episode. I'm sorry, this season. So shout out to all people involved with the show. And to the viewers out there, thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you for watching every week. Please drop down in the comment section and give us your thoughts on these final two episodes, as well as any predictions you have for next season. And be sure to follow us both here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, click the notification bell so you get alerted about our new posts and content we have coming. And follow us on social media as well. We are on all major platforms at The Spot Real Talk. And tap in with us. We got some good stuff coming up that you're not going to want to miss out on. So, definitely let us know if you want to be a participant or any other things that we have going on. We are starting to recap the final 5 episodes of Power Book 2 if you love that show. So tune in over there. And we also have some more great content coming for other shows. If you ever have a suggestion on any show that you want recapped, don't be shy. Drop down in the comments or in our DMs and let us know, like, hey, we are interested in X, Y, and Z. Recap that show. And we'll consider it. You know, we're busy, but we do try to take suggestions and tune into some of the shows that y'all are interested into. Tiff, Ron, y'all got anything else?
I'm just gonna say, stay tuned. We're not quite through with Bel-Air. We got a surprise for you guys.
Yes.
That notification bell is gonna be important.
And, you know, just as Tiara said, keep riding with us because we do. We have a lot. We do a lot for y'all. And but y'all do a lot for us too. So it's not a one-way street.
Exactly. So thanks again. And we look forward to tapping in with y'all on the next show that we recap. On that note, we are going to call it a night and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
J like the letter, I'm making several waves. I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my passes last like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this a buffet. And if I'm stumbling, I'm in the graves. Never gon' fumble it, I get the bag and I run with it. Gunning it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it. Murray with the legs, all about finesse, I am not impressed. I don't need a rash coming in with last, then you see the flash. Elohim with the melody and then he supply the breath.